Hello, I'm Michael Christensen, and I am getting ready to write a book in November for National Novel Writing Month. And I imagine you are too, so we are doing a pretty comprehensive series about prepping, and we've been working on developing our main character. Next week is going to be the end of our main character series, at which point we're going to move on to some general videos about structure, getting ready for November. It looks like we're all going to be stuck inside for ever, so might as well start being productive. Today we're going to talk about naming our characters. This is something that I really enjoy doing and have a lot of thoughts about. As I mentioned last week, I am working on a story about a character who's running for president. This character has some superpowers, because that's my brand. So I wanted a name that represented a lot of things that suit this character. And I want this character to be female, and I wanted this character to be non-white. So I went around looking for names that would be in those areas. Specifically, I knew what I thought I wanted the name to mean, and I went searching for names with that meaning. I ended up finding a name that meant bright future in Japanese, Mirai.
Marai.
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 Yes, okay. Marai, meaning bright future. It's a Japanese name, so I needed to find a Japanese surname. I wanted one that was, not one that I'd seen used everywhere already. I feel like there are a few that appear a lot in fiction. So I wanted to just go searching and try to find something that fit, that felt like it would be appropriate for the character. I found the name Kamiyama, which means God or High Mountain. This is a character who's running for president. This character has secret superpowers, and as we discussed in last week's video, this is a character who is very ambitious and probably running for president for the wrong reasons, due to a desire to no longer answer to anybody else, which, fun fact, presidents do answer to other people. There are two branches of government they answer to, plus the American people. Just in case any current sitting US presidents happen to be watching this video, you can't do whatever you want. You should do better. So her name is Marai Kamiyama. Governor Marai Kamiyama. She was the governor of Iowa. I guess still technically would be, because this is about the campaign. She needs a spouse. So I settled on the name George. It's a good, strong name. Feels appropriate for that character. Probably not going to see a lot of George in the book, but he's going to be there. The people who are going to be in the book quite a bit are the campaign staff. And I promise I'll do my best to make sure these characters are not just the characters from the West Wing. I make no promises. First, the campaign manager. This is the person who, runs the day-to-day. And I settled on making this character someone who is older than the main character and has a history with them, was their boss when they were at an earlier point in their career before they were governor. For him, I wanted a name that had a little bit more of a distinguished nature, and I settled on the name Elias. I feel like it's a name we don't hear very often. For a last name, I believe I was writing the name Houston, and it auto-corrected to Hudson for some reason, which I like. Great. He's older, he's a little bit statesman-esque. Yes, it's politics and it's all going to be very fast-paced, but I picture him generally being the calm, quiet voice in the room. Next, we have the deputy campaign manager, and I wanted this to be a female character, and I believe I was naming these characters as we were on our road trip, driving back from Chicago. I went to Chicago, and then I came back, but I'll talk about that another time. Not really a lot to talk about, actually. We're going to pick up my fiance's brother because he's moving out to California. So we did that. And we drove there in 2 days and we drove back in 3. We spent a couple days in Chicago. It was nice. Anyway, I was naming these people while I was sitting in the passenger seat and we were driving through, places like Iowa and Nebraska. And I think I saw a sign or something that had the name Duquesne on it. D-U-Q-U-E-S-N-E. That's going to be fun to write for an entire novel. Anyway, I settled on the first name Deborah for this character. So Deborah Duquesne. Next, we have our communications director. And I knew I wanted to do a reference with this, so I named him Aaron. That's a biblical reference. Aaron is the brother of Moses, who often spoke on behalf of Moses because Moses had either difficulty public speaking or difficulty speaking in general. I think just public speaking. Aaron basically speaks as the voice of Moses, so this is a little literary reference for you. Aaron Sloan, and Sloan was just a name rattling around in my head. I actually initially had Sloan as the name of the campaign manager, but ended up deciding that it was a better fit for the communications director. It worked well with the name Aaron. That name was in my head probably because we've been watching a lot of Grey's Anatomy. I've never seen it, so Victoria is showing it to me. And the character Mark Sloan, yeah, Sloan's just a good name, man. It's just a good name. Next, we need a press secretary. The name Shira appeared in a comic book I was reading. The comic was Archie the Married Life. And the character doesn't appear that often, but I actually know somebody who knows that person named Shira. Like, not a friend of a friend, but basically a friend of someone I used to work for. So I've always remembered that character very, very vaguely. Their name popped up again when I was reading the comic again. So when I was naming these characters a couple days ago, Shira was still in my head. It's a Hebrew name, so I went around looking for last names that might fit that. I found the last name Immerman, which I really like because my phone wanted to autocorrect that as well. I think it went to Zimmerman. And I like Zimmerman as a name, but Immerman feels more unique. It's a name I'd never heard on its own. Zimmerman, I've heard, I know people named Zimmerman, but Immerman was more distinctive. So Shira Immerman, that's our press secretary. And finally, a character who we're going to have a lot of conflict with, the rapid response director. See, I didn't entirely go off of characters from the West Wing. I did a little cursory Googling. I went around looking at the makeup of major campaign staff from the past couple of years and figuring out what roles there were. I mean, there were people in the legal department. I don't think I need to worry about that. It's not really going to be an issue in the book. There's the field department and the fundraising department. And again, those are very important if I was making a real world presidential campaign. But like, I just need to know that those exist. And maybe we'll reference somebody at some point, but like, that's not where the action of the story is. Rapid response director, that's going to be an important one for a lot of reasons. Because of the story and because of the main character, the rapid response director is going to have a lot of conflict with our lead. The rapid response director is basically who's in charge of, oh shoot, the other opposition said this. We need to figure out a very, very fast response. These days, that's going to be on social media. It also involves making campaign ads very quickly. They're very much tied into the communications department. But this character is going to be butting heads a lot with the candidate, with Mirai, or with Governor Kamiyama, is how probably everyone's going to refer to her. So I went with the name Jason because the name Jason, to me, represents somebody very distinctive. You know, probably going to be someone white, probably going to be someone confident. Again, this is just going off of pop culture and things like that. Jasons tend to be, you know, very assertive and very headstrong. And in this particular case, that means that he's going to be in conflict a lot with the main character because he's going to be standing up for himself against her. And I don't think he's in the wrong. He may be kind of a dick, but I don't think he's wrong. I decided on the last name Gleason. I think I was, again, doing some Googling and just looking up actors, and Brendan Gleeson popped up. I think as well, you know, it works well. It's kind of a reference to Jack Gleason. Jason Gleason feels like it could be like the child of Jack Gleason in like a movie or a comic book or something. So Jason Gleason is the rapid response director. And that's it. That's literally how I name characters. I just do a lot of Googling and I try to go very different routes for each one. You know, sometimes it's literally looking at a cast list from a movie and just picking a name and being like, okay, well, that's a cool last name. Cool last name, not cool ass name. Though, yes, that too. And wanting a name that is distinctive and find a first name that fits it, and then something completely different for every character's name. You'll notice the way I named each of the characters was very different. Elias Hudson was named partly by autocorrect. You know, that wasn't the last name he was going to have, but autocorrect just decided I meant Hudson, and I was like, cool, that works. Deborah Duquesne came about because it was a sign I was passing, and I wanted a name that suited it. Aaron Sloan was a biblical reference and someone from something that I'd currently been watching. Shira Immerman was named after a book I was reading, as well as searching for a last name that suited that. Jason Gleason was one of the few where I was just going through my mental Rolodex, thinking about what I would name somebody who's, you know, kind of a confident dude who likes to stand up for himself and things like that. And then again, Googling last names and, you know, I think just looking at actors. And the main character, Governor Marai Kameyama, was named by the name meanings. You know, I was going out and trying to find names that represented, based on their meaning, again, based on what I can find from the internet, represented the main character. And again, names that are not incredibly common for characters written by white guys. So again, I didn't want a Yukio or a Mariko, anything that you tend to see when characters are made up by white guys who just keep reading the same 5 things and repeating those names. Those are X-Men references, BTW. Also, I didn't want, Watanabe as a name. You're just pulling from the most famous Japanese actors who happen to be famous here in America. Anyway, that's my process. If you have any questions about it, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, let me know if you have any similar methods, if there's any of these that you think are helpful for where you go about naming characters. Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, let me know by pressing the thumbs up button, because that's the like button, and that's the thing that you said you did. You said you liked it. Hit the button that says that you said you liked it, like you said you liked it. Also subscribe, please, and ring the bell. I'd like that too. That's it for me. I love you, Victoria.